Now, from that background, it shifts to the 2009 convention in Anaheim. Now, many people were upset about the passage of B033, which states this, that this convention call upon standing committees and bishops with jurisdiction to exercise restraint by not consenting to the consecration of any candidate to the episcopate whose manner of life presents a challenge to the wider church and will lead to further strains on communion. That's B033. Now, I helped to write B033, and I know its story, and I know how it worked. It's important to be aware that the content of B033 is not very debatable. My guess is that if you were, suggesting someone who might date your daughter, or babysit your children, or coach a Little League team, or sit in your front office, you would not want someone whose manner of life was such a scandal to the community that it threatened relationships. That's what B033 says. We don't want someone to be a bishop whose manner of life is such a scandal to the community that it would threaten relationships. I don't think that's very debatable. I'd be rather troubled if people said, gee, let's get somebody in here whose manner of life is such a scandal that the whole world goes nuts. That's not what we're doing. So I don't think that B033 is very debatable. The content of B033 is benign. Its history, however, is not. It was, as the bishops noted in their response, aimed at non-celibate gay and lesbian persons, even though it does not say so. So the convention in 2009 addressed that situation and that tension. We passed a resolution that is titled D025. D025 does this. It affirms our commitment to being part of the Anglican communion at every level. And we've done that over and over and over again. It recognizes, secondly, that gay and lesbian people in committed relationships have been and are an important part of the life and ministry of this church. It affirms that the discernment processes, that is, the means by which people are set aside for ordained ministries as deacons, priests, and bishops, that the discernment processes are open to all baptized members of our church, including gay and lesbian people in committed relationships. And fourthly, it notes that not everybody agrees with this position. Now, some people have said, well, does that overturn B033? It doesn't. It doesn't. The fact is, there's not much in B033 to overturn. You don't pass its history, you pass its content. The content is pretty benign. What it does, however, is it reverses the interpretation of B033 given by the bishops in their meeting in New Orleans in 2007. Now, it's interesting and worth noting that the House of Bishops changed their tune and voted for D025 by a 2-to-1 margin. So we are substantially in agreement that this is the direction in which we're going, that our discernment processes in this church are open to all baptized members, and that includes gay and lesbian people who are living in committed relationships. We also passed a resolution called CO56. CO56 acknowledges the legalization of gay marriages, civil unions, and domestic partnerships in many jurisdictions in our country, and the need of the Episcopal Church to respond pastorally. Secondly, it calls for the collection of resources for the developing of same-sex blessings. It encourages a generous pastoral response on the part of our bishops, and it notes that not everybody agrees with this. CO56 represents a slow step, hopefully forward, but a step nonetheless. A step. The resolution authorizes the gathering of material for the developing of same-sex blessings. It does not authorize the development of liturgies. That means that if the material that has been gathered meets the approval of the convention, and the convention is still of a mind to proceed with the development of blessings, then in 2012, they will authorize the development of liturgies, and nobody will see those liturgies until 2015. Churches are meant to move slowly. And that's what this does. It's important to note what was authorized and what was not. It cannot be acted upon. The liturgies could not be approved until 2015. Now, obviously, these two resolutions are problematic to many people in the Anglican Communion. A lot of people say that the Anglican Communion was ignored. I can guarantee you the Anglican Communion was not ignored. It was definitely not ignored. It was not agreed with, but it was not ignored. There's a big difference between listening to somebody, taking it seriously, and whether you agree or disagree. We listened, people spoke, we understood it, we've heard it, it was all there. We took the path we took. The president of the House of Deputies and the presiding bishop wrote to Archbishop Williams explaining D025 in these words, quote, "We understand D025 to be more descriptive than prescriptive in nature, a statement that affirms commitments already made by the Episcopal Church. Nothing in the resolution goes beyond what has already been provided under our Constitution and canons for many years," unquote. Now that's, of course, accurate. It's accurate in the context of our Constitution and canons, but it blissfully ignores the specific context of the moratoriums requested by the Windsor Report and which were allowed by B033 and affirmed by the House of Bishops. We are taking off in a different direction from that. The Archbishop of Canterbury said, quote, "The statement that the resolutions are essentially descriptive is helpful, but unlikely to allay anxieties." I love the way that man talks. I just unlikely to allay anxieties. He also, and this is important to keep in mind, he also affirmed the place of the Episcopal Church in the Anglican Communion, saying that, quote, "The relationship between the Episcopal Church and the wider communion is a reality which needs continued engagement and encouragement." So the people who are going around saying, well, we just kicked ourselves out, it's not the way the Archbishop of Canterbury understands it. And the fact is, the Archbishop of Canterbury is the one who decides who's in and who's not. So where are we at the end of the 76th Convention? We are smaller than we were, but we're still robust. We're clearer about who we are, but we're still conflicted. We are committed to service, but bashful about evangelism. We are, in fact, charting a new course in regard to human sexuality, while at the same time fighting all the old demons of human sin. We're working hard to make community out of diversity, while mourning the loss of all those who cannot continue with us. We are theologically grounded, but our right flank is weak. We are liturgically blessed, spirit-filled, marvelously kind, generous, and in love with life. The bad news is that we need a Savior. The good news is we've got one. In other words, we are right where the church has been for 2,000 years, and we have nothing to fear. Thank you very much. Thank you.